And welcome back to the show, everybody. My name is Shane. This is Mark, and we are the Fantasy Football Pros.
How you doing today?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing.
Today, we're going to be looking at running backs, looking into their second year, and dive into what we thought we can look forward to in their second year. If you already listened to our first episode that covered 5 of the rookie running backs, we'll be going into another 5, and I'm really excited to talk about these guys. Mark, is there anything you want to talk about before we dive into it?
Can I give a big shout out to Urban Meyer? What a wonderful coach. He ran a dirty program in Ohio State. He thought he could do that in the pros, and he hired some dude, Iowa strength coach, who got fired at Iowa for harassment, for calling players by racial names. So, Urban Meyer, you win the number 2 Flush of the Week award.
That's beautiful.
So anyway, Shane, I just wanted to throw that in, that my thoughts on that today.
Yeah, it just seems like a weird tactic. Like, he did so well in college football, and then he comes to the NFL and he brings a type of person like that, especially in the day and era that we're living in. Like, I thought that kind of football was done.
Well, think about it this way. What a great situation is it in. He can now pay players and not get in trouble for it.
Yeah, now you can.
Instead of, he had to work really hard all those years trying to hide all those payments. That must have been just exhausting trying to hide all that.
What I don't understand is, how can a coach still be openly racist in the NFL when a majority of NFL players are black?
That is a very good question. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be asking him that question. We will be listening to his responses on those, but I'm sure of it. He's going to get a lot of these questions now, like, dude, what are you doing?
What are you thinking?
Yeah.
And it's going to make it a lot harder to recruit players now. And it's already, you already showed your character already.
That is for sure. I don't think he had a great character reference to begin with. I don't think anybody would ever say, oh, this is a stand-up guy. I think he just knows how to coach football, but not on a very ethical way. So Shane, let's get into these second-year running backs, these second 5 that we have.
Absolutely. I am excited to talk about these guys. I think there are some good things that we could be looking forward to 2021 with these players.
Yeah, our first episode, we talked about a couple that, we talked about 5 guys that 3 we were kind of excited about what's going to happen, and 2, well, not so much.
Not so much.
I think with what we have here today, what we're going to talk about, these guys really are on the board, what we should be looking at. So who do you want to start off with?
So let's start off with Cam Akers.
Love him, love him, love him.
So very exciting player. So last year, Cam had 625 rushing yards. He only had 145 rushing attempts, only 2 touchdowns. He did have a fumble. He also received 11 catches on 14 targets for 123 yards and 1 touchdown.
And he did help me get into the playoffs. He's probably one of the reasons I got in the playoffs, was because I picked him up very late in the season when he started to come onto the scene. So thank you, Mr. Akers.
So yeah, most teams dropped Akers before he was handed the ball in week 13, and he became the clear running back to the Rams offense.
Whereas he was one of the guys I was looking at in the draft, beginning of the season. I was looking for him. He actually went around earlier than I thought he was going to go in our league, but I still picked him up then in the 12th week of the season when the owner that had drafted him finally dropped him. And I said, thank you very much.
Oh, it's perfect timing too.
Definitely. That's when he just exploded on the scene. And that's when that 3-headed committee that they had, the 3-headed monster they had, really became him. He became the bell cow.
Mm-hmm.
That's when they said, okay, we have confidence in you. Here you go. Here's the ball.
Yeah, it was Henderson, Brown, Akers, throughout most of the season, which we kind of knew going into the season that Akers was going to be in a timeshare, hoping that he would outshine the other two players and then take the bell cow role, which he finally did.
Well, what I think you're seeing, though, this has kind of been the theme with all these second-year running backs we're talking about. Their first year, it was a shortened camp. They had all the COVID. They had shortened preseason. That took it takes a while to learn the NFL, I would imagine. I'm not smart enough to do it, but I'm sure it does.
Yeah, I mean, it takes rookie running backs, a little bit longer to get a feel for NFL and to gain the trust from their coaches to actually be handed the ball.
Yeah, your coaches, your teammates, everybody has to trust you where they know, hey, when we give this guy the ball, he's going to run hard and he's going to run the right way. He's going to follow his blocks. Whereas if you don't have that trust, what are you going to, do you really want to hand the ball off to this guy? Do you really want to block this guy? Because he's just going to go the other way. He figured out the offense.
Now we got Matthew Stafford coming in.
Big upgrade.
Much better than Goff, in our opinion.
I think in anybody's reasonable opinion.
Yeah. The only problem I have with Stafford is that he does get injured. I mean, he didn't have the greatest offensive line, and I don't think he's going into the greatest offensive line. So the Rams are definitely going to have to protect Matthew Stafford for their chances of making the playoffs.
Well, I certainly hope they will address that in the first round of the draft.
That'd be nice to see.
There are several offensive linemen coming out this year that will be really highly thought of. And so I think they can really start shoring that up right away. So hopefully that'll take care of itself. The one thing we can look forward to with Stafford down with the Rams, something that Akers can look forward to, he targets his running backs 22.6% of the time over the course of his career. So he targets the running backs on his throws 22% of the time. That is so much larger than Goff's 14%. So there's going to be a lot more opportunities for Akers to get the ball going out to the flats. And also the receivers are going to love it because that opens up play action a whole lot, especially with the Rams last year having play action plays 33% of the time. That's incredible amount of time.
Every 3 plays,
yep,
a play action pass.
But now think about this. You have Akers that came onto the scene and said, okay, I can be that bell cow. So you really don't know if he's getting the ball or not. But then you also have Stafford, who likes to throw the play action and also likes to then dump it out to the running back also. I think that's a recipe for some good news for Akers this year.
Well, yeah. I mean, he had 11 catches on 14 targets for 123 yards. So his catches are definitely going up, barring any injury that either of those guys get.
And Brown is not under contract this year, so that's one less mouth to feed. It's just him and Henderson.
They don't re-sign him, yeah. Which they do not need to re-sign him.
No.
But I just want to take a look at Akers' ceiling here.
Okay.
I mean, we saw it last year when he rushed for 171 yards on 29 carries, giving the guy the rock. But let's look at the Rams offense in 2017 with Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley had 279 rushing attempts. 279 rushing attempts. That's a hell of a lot. For 1,300 yards and 13 touchdowns. He also had 64 catches on 87 targets for 788 yards and another 6 touchdowns. I mean, granted, that was a 19 touchdown season. Your running backs aren't going to get that every year.
But that shows you that they're not afraid to have someone who's a bell cow, and they don't need it by committee so much. I know a lot of offenses now do that. Everything's by committee. But what he showed at the end of the year is that he necessarily doesn't need committee. He needs to be rested every so often, have someone come in, run a few plays, run a few balls. But he can be the man.
Yeah, he definitely showed that. I got a great feeling for Cam Akers in 2021. I think he's going to be a steal in the draft. If he's not taken in the 3rd round, I'm grabbing him there.
Well, you won't have to worry about that in our draft since we have ours is a keeper league. And, well, I don't think he's going to make it to the draft. Just saying. I'm just saying. I'm planning on milking that bell cow as long as I can next year. I think what you're going to see, like right now in the mock drafts, the drafts that are going on right now, Cam Akers is being taken the first pick in the 4th round. With the Stafford news, with them signing him, I do believe that he'll be drafted in the 3rd round. And as far as me, I'm willing to give my 3rd round pick for Cam Akers and making sure I have him, then hoping I get him.
Yeah, on a Sean McVay offense, I mean, they're definitely going to get Akers the ball a ton.
I think they'll definitely have a better offense, a more prolific scoring offense, more scoring opportunities. Again,
well, he only had 3 touchdowns.
Yes,
he's definitely going to go up from that.
Yeah, if it doesn't, well, then we all suck.
Anything else on Akers?
I might have to buy a jersey.
Really?
Yeah. Why not? I got nothing to root for in Chicago.
Ouch. What if we get Deshaun Watson over in Chicago?
I will dance the jig naked out in the snow in my front yard if we get Deshaun Watson.
And we will post that live.
Go right ahead. It might scare some people away, but I will do it. So, Shane, who do you want to talk about next?
Next on our list is Antonio Gibson, big back from Washington. Last year, Antonio Gibson had 795 rushing yards on 170 rushing attempts. He had 11 touchdowns, 2 fumbles, and that was only in 14 games. He also got 36 catches on 44 targets for 247 yards. Now, Gibson is a big back. He weighs...
Dude is big.
228 pounds.
How would you like to get hit in the chest, him coming at you and getting hit in the chest by him? Woo! No, thank you.
No. I mean, if I'm getting paid what they're getting paid, I'll take the hit.
Like that commercial with James Harrison for Geico or whatever commercial it is where he goes around, well, he's got to tackle you or he doesn't get paid.
Like I said, if I'm getting paid millions of dollars to take that hit, I will more than happily take that hit.
Now, some news about Gibson about this year. He vows to slim down because he wants to increase his explosiveness.
I think that's fascinating news. He's a big back. He's got good hands. He's explosive, and now he wants to trim down the weight. And with running backs, whenever they trim down weight, I always like to hear that news because it normally means that they just get faster. They don't get weaker. They keep their muscle. They just trim down the fat. They get faster, and they're more explosive that way.
Yes, and I wonder what that's going to do also for him for receiving. Already he's shown he has fantastic hands, but now to get out of that backfield a little quicker out to the flat to be able to catch that screen pass or to dump across the middle, it's going to be fun watching him just with this new quickness he's going to have with that strength. It's going to be much watch TV.
Do you think he's going to be like a Alvin Kamara type player?
I think he has that ability. I think he does. I think he's got that. He'll have that quickness. He'll have the power. So if they really just say, here's the ball to him, if they commit to him being the number one guy, who else they have, J.D. McKissick or Peyton Barber, they're both under contract still. But what do they have to show? I mean, McKissick, yeah, he can catch the ball, but when you see Gibson can catch as well as him, why take the ball out of Gibson's hands if he can do that in the flats, if he can have the power and the speed?
Okay, so that was a question I was going to ask you is, do you think that J.D. McKissick or Peyton Barber are going to be any issues for Gibson if they're going to, be in some kind of timeshare, or if they're just going to be spelling him?
McKissick's going to get his catches. He's going to get his time. But the majority of it's Barber, forget about. I don't see him unless someone else gets hurt. He's going to be there for spelling at the very most, just giving some relief here or there, and as an insurance in case someone gets hurt. That's it. But McKissick, yeah, he'll still get his share of catches. But I think
he'll get a handful of rushing. I think he's just going to be spelling Gibson for the most part.
Yes, I agree.
We're on the same page with that.
Completely agree.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really exciting to watch. I mean, I think he is kind of similar to Kamara. Most people don't think Kamara of being a powerful back because he's so quick and he catches the ball so much. You don't really think of those kind of players having power. But if you actually see Elvin run and hit a defensive player, he could take them down.
He can hurt him. He can definitely hurt him. So this past year, Gibson, he was selected basically in the 11th round on average for the leagues this past year. This year, you're not going to see that. You're going to expect him to go in the 3rd round. You're going to be seeing him being taken in the 3rd round. So this is a player that if you had him, if you selected him last year in the 11th round and you're in a keeper league, congratulations, you got yourself a steal this year.
Oh yeah.
But this year, you can still get him in that 3rd round, I believe, probably mid 3rd round. So he's still a viable option out there for one of your top running backs.
Yeah, I kind of want to call him a mid-round sleeper.
Yes.
He has the potential to be a top 10 running back in 2021. And if he is, then in 2022, he's going to go in the 1st round.
He has that ability. He has the size, the speed. He can catch the ball. There's nothing he lacks on.
And let's remember that this is Antonio Gibson's 1st year being a running back. And let's remember in college, Antonio Gibson was a wide receiver. So he came in on his rookie year with, the definition of a specimen for running back, but as a wide receiver talent. So now he has a year under his belt being a running back. And now he gets to spend the rest of the offseason, and hopefully they get a preseason practicing being a running back. And I think he's going to be explosive this year.
It's just crazy to think of that he's just learning the position and he did as well as he did. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
That's like trying to throw me into NASA to be a rocket scientist. I might crash and burn a few rockets. So what do you think about, is it Gibson someone you're going to be targeting? And if so, what round do you think you'll be targeting him in?
Whew. Well, I definitely prioritize running backs normally. 3rd or 4th round for Gibson. We'll see what his ADP is going into our draft. If he's going to be a steal value. I mean, you never really know, especially this early, if you're going to draft someone, because it's all about their draft price. So if he goes into the 2nd round, I don't think I'm going to be touching him. I think I have other targets that value over him.
Agreed. So the next back we want to talk about, do you mind if we just jump right on A.J. Dillon now?
Sure, go ahead.
I mean, we can jump on him because dude is big.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
He was nowhere in the rotation anywhere with Green Bay this year until all of a sudden at the end it's like, whoa, who's this guy running over everybody?
Well, I mean, at the end, you mean in week 16 when they were dominating the Titans in the playoffs and they didn't need Aaron Jones anymore? Yeah, and then he rushed for 21 times for 124 yards, 2 touchdowns. So we see his potential there, but I mean, it really all comes down to if Aaron Jones is going to be there next season or not.
Very true. I mean, he finished. So Dillon on the year, like you said, he had how many attempts that one game? 21?
21 attempts.
He only had 46 attempts on the whole year.
Yeah.
46 attempts, 242 rushing yards, 2 TDs, no fumbles. I mean, that's always a good thing for a rookie, not fumbling. That'll help, keep you in the good graces of the coach. Receiving wise, he had 2 targets, caught both the targets for 21 yards. He doesn't jump out at you unless Aaron Jones is gone.
Yeah. If you are the starting running back on the Green Bay Packers offense with Aaron Rodgers leading the way, you will have scoring opportunities. And A.J. Dillon, being the big bruiser back that he is, will be getting 100% of the goal line work if there's no Aaron Jones.
Well, this guy, I think it's so funny, the difference in if Jones is there or not. If Jones is there, he's a 10th, 11th round pick as a handcuff.
As a handcuff, yeah.
If Jones is not there, where does he go?
That's a great question, because he is a big back. So you really don't think he's going to get many yards. You'd think he's not going to get over 1,000 yards unless he turns into a Derrick Henry. I mean, he did show that he can catch the ball, unlike Derrick Henry, even though he only got 2 catches. But he'll also have Aaron Rodgers, one of the best passers ever of all time, throwing him the ball.
Well, right now, people aren't really looking at him to take over. I think people think Aaron Jones is going to be there still, because in the early drafts right now, he's not even being selected. He's not even one of the top 79 running backs being drafted.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. And how that can change if Jones is not there.
It can. I don't think Jones is going to go anywhere, though. I think that they're going to pay the man.
They'd be stupid if they didn't.
Yeah.
Listen, A.J. Dillon as a handcuff, all for it. Go right ahead. 2 thumbs up. But if you're counting on him to be your every down back, to be your bell cow, that's a scary position to be in when you're looking to win a Super Bowl.
All right. Next on our list is DeAndre Swift. The Swifter got 521 rushing yards on 114 rushing attempts. He did get 8 touchdowns, 2 fumbles. He also had 46 catches on 57 targets with another 2 touchdowns, and that was only in 13 games.
So I'm going to bring us back to what we were saying about Goff and what we were saying about Stafford. Stafford targeted, I'm going to say this again, Stafford targeted his running backs 22.6% of the time in his career. 22.6% of the time. Goff, 14%. Swift was fantastic out of the backfield catching the ball. How much is this change in quarterbacks going to hurt him in that department as far as those stats?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question because Dan Campbell, the new head coach of the Lions, says that he would like to move Swift to get more touches in the slot. So now Goff doesn't even have to target his running backs, or he can continue targeting them 14%, and then he can make up another 10% throwing the Swift in the slot.
I wonder how that will actually work out. I know that's what he says.
Coach speak is hard to decipher, right? They say one thing, and then once the game starts, they're like, that's not really working. So we're just going to go back to what we normally do.
And that's what scares me because Swift, last year was taken in the 7th round. He's definitely going to go earlier than that. But I think with the news of, because he did show himself well this year, he had a good year for a rookie. But I think with the news of the trade, I don't believe you're going to have to pay up much more than that to get him. I think you're still going to be able to get this guy in the 6th round. So would he still be interested to you in the 6th round?
Yeah, I don't think Swift is going to be overvalued this year. I think with that news of the quarterback change and knowing that the Lions are now rebuilding, that a lot of people are probably going to be staying away from this offense. And that will be a mistake that I will more than happy pick them up in.
Yeah, it's not like the Rams had a terrible offense with Goff at the helm.
No, not at all. I mean, but they also had Sean McVay.
Yes. I mean, he is a offensive genius.
So being the fact that Dan Campbell is coming from the New Orleans Saints offense, and now him saying that he's going to move Swift into the slot for some routes, that we might see similar uses than we did last year with him, because he will be in the slot and he will be getting catches, and knowing that Dan Campbell does throw, or he was in a system that threw to the running back like a jillion tons.
That's true. So you can see him possibly using him like a Kamara. I mean, he's no Kamara. Let's get that straight.
No.
But have that type of usage of him.
Correct.
So he would be a definite buy in the late 6th round, early 7th round as a steal.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be, depending on who they draft, but he's going to be one of the most talented offensive weapons that they have. So he's definitely going to be heavily used.
All right, so we'll keep an eye on him, see what happens. Again, this whole thing is going to be, what we're talking about now is what we're anticipating for next year, for what the signs that we have right now. Really, guys, this is going to be us breaking it down again in the summer when we start getting the reports out of the training camps to see how, if he is being used like Campbell said he was used out of the slot. So we'll just stay focused on this, keep up on it. It's really, that's why you should be doing your homework now. It's not so much to make your mind up of who you're selecting where at this point in time, but what the signs are you looking for each player. That's what you're looking at right now.
And then that way, when anything does happen, you can read and react accordingly.
Exactly. Because if you try reacting after the results already, forget about it. All right. So, Shane, let's go to J.K. Dobbins. I know this is a big favorite of yours, a target of yours. So please go ahead and talk about J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, J.K. Dobbins is one of my favorite players from last year. First thing that caught me was his name. I just think that J.K. Dobbins is such a cool-ass name to have.
He sounds like an actor.
He does. Like J.K. Rowling or... But
So he's an actor slash football player slash fantasy writer.
yeah. So I drafted Dobbins probably a little earlier than some of you in the 7th round last year. And he sat on my bench for, I don't know, a good 8 weeks. I mean, Dobbins finished with 805 rushing yards. He had 134 attempts, 9 touchdowns. He also had 18 catches on 24 targets for 120 yards. I mean, that last part in the receiving doesn't really stand out. But if you give him the fact that Jackson did such a poor job at throwing the ball last year, that's not really that bad.
Lamar had definite accuracy issues in 2020, and the lack of targets overall to the whole team. There was a lack of targets because he was always running the ball. He was almost first his accuracy was horrible, and then he just gets in a little bit of trouble and he runs.
Yeah, which was killing me because I had J.K. Dobbins. And then I just see Lamar Jackson run for 60 yards and a touchdown. I'm like, oh, there goes all my points.
And then early in the season, I know Dobbins struggled to get touches early on because he was behind both Mark Ingram and Gus Edwards.
Which luckily Ingram got hurt.
Lucky for who? Not for him.
Not for him. He lost his job.
Lucky for you that he got hurt.
He didn't really get the workhorse role until after their bye week. And then after that, he had 15 attempts for 113 yards, showing his explosive potential. And he finished strong this season with 7 touchdowns in the last 6 games. Now, the Ravens will continue with their run-first approach as they were first in rushing attempts last season with 555 and with 3,071 yards. They blew everyone out of the water in rushing. So I think having a lead back, hoping he's the lead back on the team with the most rushing yards and most rushing attempts, there's just so much upside there. Don't you agree?
Yes, I do believe. I really think that you're going to see Dobbins getting 60% of the touches there. You'd like to see more, but I still think it's going to be like 60. I think they're still going to be using Gus Edwards.
I definitely see. I mean, Gus has been there for a few years, and he's been just solid. He's not overly the top great. He doesn't hurt the team. He's not weak. He's just your average solid player. So he's going to keep getting those touches. But I think Dobbins has the explosiveness that Edwards may be lacking, thus giving him more trust from the coaches. So where he's getting, 60% of the timeshare.
Well, and I also hope that Lamar will work really hard on his accuracy and staying in the pocket and not run, flight first type of thing. I hope he stays in the pocket longer, has more protection, and has better accuracy, because that will also open up.
You saw what happened in 2019 when he had his breakout year. He wasn't running nearly as much as he did the year before that. He was throwing a ton and accurate.
And Dobbins certainly has shown that he can catch the ball. So I'd like to see him get more of that work this year coming out to, out of the backfield.
So I'm going to give you some interesting stats. This is what I think.
Oh, here we go.
But this is his potential. So when Mark Ingram was the workhorse on that team in 2019, Mark had 1,018 rushing yards on 202 attempts with 10 touchdowns. And he had 26 catches on 29 targets for 247 yards and another 5 touchdowns. That year, he was the RB11. Now, Mark Ingram's first year in 2018 with the team, he only had 138 rushing attempts for 645 yards and a touchdown. He also received a touchdown. So Mark Ingram in his first season had 138 rushing attempts. J.K. Dobbins in his first season had 134 rushing attempts, so 4 attempts less. Yet he outgained him by 150 yards and had more touchdowns.
So do you think this is a coach's confidence type of thing, that the Harbaugh doesn't really trust first-year running backs until halfway through the season, and then their second year, once they've earned that respect, boom, here you go.
I think that can happen. I mean, Gus Edwards, he's been in the team for 3 years. Here are his rushing stats, just his attempts and yards. So in 2018, he had 137 attempts for 718 yards. Does that sound familiar? It sounds just like
Yeah.
the other two guys. It's almost identical. 2019,
Yep.
133 attempts, 711 yards. Last year, 144 attempts, 723 yards. Very consistent,
Consistent.
which is why I think he's going to be the number 2 back, and J.K. Dobbins will take that main role. But the big question is will Dobbins be the workhorse back? Will he get over 200 rushing attempts? Because if he gets over 200 rushing attempts, he's easily going to clear 1,200 rushing yards. His touchdown upside is huge. I mean, they have a great offensive line. The offense works. They get touchdowns. I mean, the sky could be the limit for this guy.
So are we making a prediction here? Lay it out there. Come on, brother. You know you want to.
I predict J.K. Dobbins will be a top 10 running back in 2021. It is
You
set
heard
in
it here
stone. I am
first.
saying it way too early, and that's what I believe.
Keep it on tape. We'll play this back. You said it. It's on tape. Let's see how it plays out
of the season.
I love it. I love it. Go out there. Go on that ledge.
I'm jumping, dog. I'm jumping.
No, I agree. I think this is a running back who I think people saw what he can do. I think people are excited about him. That's why instead of being selected you selected him in the 7th round last year. In most leagues, he was going around in the 8th round, some in the 9th. You selected him a little bit earlier because
he was my guy. I had him.
This is the guy you said. And this is the thing. What Shane does, what he did this past year is he drafted knowing what he wanted to do for this year coming up. Because in our keeper league, we had to keep 2 keepers. And so he was looking at this as picking him up, saying, I know I'm not going to use him that much in the first year, maybe toward the second half, but then this is going to be my guy in the second year. So this is his guy.
He's so much my guy. All right.
And I love it.
Let me explain this. In our keeper league, if you draft a player in the 7th round, you are able to keep him for an additional 2 years in the exact same round. So if I keep J.K. Dobbins, I'll be forfeiting my 7th round pick. I have Jonathan Taylor in the 3rd round that I'm keeping. For sure, 100%. And now it's down to these 2 players, either J.K. Dobbins in the 7th round or Christian McCaffrey in the 1st round. And I am heavily debating this. I mean, I think we all think that Christian McCaffrey is the number 1 overall running back in the league right now. And I'm thinking of not keeping him.
Well, if I was in a similar situation, I'm looking at being able to get Dobbins in the 7th round compared to where his ADP this year is going to be probably the 3rd round, maybe 4th, late 3rd, early 4th.
That's
great
some
value. Good value there.
I mean, he's going to be going around the same area as Gibson, Akers.
And in your situation, if you've got Taylor and Dobbins locked up already in the 3rd and 7th round, respectively, can you imagine what receiver you can get in that 1st round?
If I'll be drafting a receiver in the 1st round.
Yeah. Well, if you were to be. Now, you could be like me in my one league, in our league, the keeper league, where I had McCaffrey as a choice or other players as a choice. I chose to keep McCaffrey. And then sure enough, when we did the selections out of the hat, I had the 1st pick overall in the draft, so I didn't even have to keep him there. I could have just picked him up. So, I mean, go figure that one, right?
That was really bad luck. Which is why I'm not a huge fan of keeping players that cost you a 1st round pick, because you do have that opportunity that you might just draft them in the 1st round anyway.
This year, I think you're going to be. I mean, it's still showing. If you're looking at the draft right now, like the mock drafts, you still have the same players going in the beginning of the draft. You still got McCaffrey going 1st, Cook going 2nd, Kamara going 3rd, Henry going 4th, Barkley going 5th. They're still there, but now all of a sudden you're going to have the Nick Chubbs going 6th. The Elliots are still going to be there at 6, 7 compared to last year being taken as 2nd pick. So, I mean, there's going to be some value because of recency bias of how people got screwed by these top running backs this past year. I mean, this past year, let's just say it like it was a cluster. It was horrible. If you used your 1st round pick and selected one of these top running backs,
oh,
you were screwed.
unless you had Kamara, Cook, Henry.
Right, but if you took the normal
Barkley.
McCaffrey, uh, Barkley, Elliott, and that's generally how
Yeah,
they
the
were
top three
going,
guys just screwed
you
over
were
a
in
lot
trouble.
of teams.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. So there's gonna be some recency bias to this, where people are gonna be thinking, "Hey, remember last year? Remember last year? Hey, let's not do what we did last year." You know, so you're gonna be able to get these guys who were going for second, third last year at maybe 6, 7. So it's one of those options that, like you said, if you are in a keeper draft and you don't want to keep that first round pick because, hey, you have a really good shot, luck of the draw as far as where you select to still get one of these top running
Yeah,
backs like
yeah.
that,
And even if
it's not a bad idea.
let's go back to me. Even if I don't get McCaffrey in the first round, I still have opportunities of Kamara or Barkley or Cook or Henry, whoever's left on the board.
That's exactly what I'm saying. And you can use that leverage, that take advantage of that discount you would get on a Dobbins, getting a third or fourth round pick in the seventh round, and be able to select that and get a top line receiver that if you keep McCaffrey in the first, let's say you get the second pick in the draft, you can't select yourself until what? Number 18, 19, 20, 21 that you
Mm-hmm.
won't be selecting until the next round. The top line receivers are gone. Whereas you can still get you can have two top line running backs that you have right now in the third and seventh and go, if you wanted to, receiver. And I think that's a smart play.
Or I can lock up like Kelsey and just be locked
Yeah.
at tight end, locked at running back, and then I could just take a couple stabs at running back, take a QB early, one of the better ones, and just go all out on wide receivers and have a dominant team.
And picking Kelsey in the first round is not a stupid thing. What's the difference of keeping him or keeping a top line receiver in the first round, or picking a top line receiver? He's a receiver.
He's
He
just
plays a
as
tight
good
end
as
position,
the
but he's a
top wide
receiver.
receivers, but he locks in your tight end slot, and you have that huge advantage over everybody else. I mean, unless they have
Huge.
Kittle or
Huge.
Waller, you're gonna have like a 10-point advantage every week over your opponent.
Yeah, that's not a stupid play at all. We thank you guys for listening in on us. I hope you have fun with us. We're trying to give you some useful information. We do our research on it. We do spend a lot of time doing the research on it. I hope you enjoy it, and thanks for coming along for the ride.
Again, my name is Shane. I am here with Mark. We are the Fantasy Football Pros, and we'll talk to you later.
See ya.